today I would like to show you how to needle felt a cat the easy way, shall we say. Cats' faces are so difficult to get right. But today we will be needle felting the easier side of the cat. Little bit of a fun gift to give to someone for Christmas or something like that. Any sort of cat lover, or maybe someone you just want to make giggle. So I've got my needle, I've got my foam, I have got my multi-tool, but I may not use it too much because it's quite small what we're working with. And I'm going to do a Siamese type inspired cat. So I'm going to use fawn sliver. I also have raisin, and I've got a little bit of candy floss for the pink bits. So to begin with, I'm going to take some of the fawn, about 10 centimeters ish, pull it apart, and I'm going to place it on my foam, and I'm going to roll it in this direction. So we're starting with the bottom area. So I'm just going to roll and fold. And I like using my foam because it just helps keep it all tight on there. And now just start felting it just so it's holding. You don't want this too much of a 3D kind of circular shape. This is going to be more of a flat-ish oval. So now that's holding, I'm going to start shaping up these sides. Remember, you're working with a very small piece here, so watch those fingers. Flip it over and start working on this side. So many people start like this and then try going around like this, which makes it really, really difficult. Flip it over so that you're still working on the right if you're right-handed, or the left if you're left. So this is getting really, really, really nice and firm now. And instead of just stabbing down or in at the sides, I am stabbing at an angle all over, essentially towards the middle, so it's really, really firm. There's hardly any squidge in that. And I like to just roll it in my hands, smooth some of that fuzz out. I've got my picture frame ready that I was going to put this one on. So I'm just going to test for size, which I'm quite happy with. The little legs will sit at the bottom, standing on the bottom of the picture frame. So I'm quite happy with that. Going to pop the body piece to one side for now, and we are going to work on doing the two legs. For the legs, anytime I am doing a pair of legs, ears, arms, I always take my wool tops first. I'm taking off a piece of wool tops. It's probably a bit too much. Just going to restack it. This is going to be two legs. So I'm going to divide it in half now and make sure I've got equal amounts for the legs. If I take one now and one later, I'll have no idea how much I had. So I think I need a little bit from that hand. That feels about right. I'm going to work one leg first. I lay my wool tops on my foam and stab a line at approximately the middle. I'm going to flip one side over, so it's still attached to the foam, and give it a quick stab all over, just to start those fibres starting to pre-felt together. Now this is when I'm going to take it off the foam. It's important not to stab it too much because otherwise it's going to get stuck to your foam. I'm going to take it off, and then from this side across, I'm going to roll it up. And these ends up here I'm going to keep nice and fluffy and just concentrate on felting down this part. You only want to work for about 1.5 centimeters maybe, depending upon how long or how big your photo frame is. But I'm looking at doing to about that much. Once that's starting to hold, I like to take it in my hands and give it a bit of a roll. Just to really help it along. My hands are quite warm as well, which helps. I've got this little fuzzy bit at the end, that's fine. I can just take my needle, gently stab that in. It's important to try not to stab too far in, because if I stab all the way like that, one, the barbs finish here, so all this part of the needle is doing nothing. Two, you're actually ending up pushing, don't know if you can quite see that on the camera, you're pushing fluff out the other side, which isn't what you want to do. So I tend to work at an angle. And where my barbs are up to, there's my top barb, my needle's just poking through the other side. I mean, it's fine to work hard, and if you're doing something bigger, of course, you know, it doesn't matter too much if your needle goes in further. But it just makes your life so much easier if you're not then having to stab in what you've pushed out on the other side. So I'm just going to stab this leg and do the other one until they're both pretty much as firm as the body, but keeping fluffy bits up the top. So I've got both of the legs done here, and just to give it some little darker socks, I am going to take a little bit of raisin, and it is a little bit, so I'm just going to pinch 2 small bits off for each little sock. Make them even again. And what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of going to start not rubbing too much, just handling the wool, just so it starts flattening in my hands. I'm going to wrap it around the base of the foot, stabbing at the bottom, and then I'm going to stab all over. So I'm leaving it quite sparse. I don't want it to be too solid on this one, so you can still see some of the fawn underneath. I'm going to repeat that for the second leg. Now, to attach the legs to the body, I'm going to split the fluffy ends in half. You may find that one of your legs has felted a bit further up than the other, so it's this one for me. That's why I'm just really going to yank it out. That's about right now. Kind of decide which side you like of your feet. So I quite like that side of that sock and that side of that sock. So these are the sides you're going to see. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the body in between those 2 pieces. So you've got one piece coming up here and one piece coming up here, and then I'm going to stab that in just to hold in position. Not too much yet, so you might want to fiddle around with the placement a little bit. Then I'm going to pop my other one on. Kind of like little bunny ears at the moment. Just let those ends go around, and that's really going to make sure that it's all on nice and securely. Now once these ends have started felting in, I'm going to start playing with the placement and the angles of the legs. You need to remember to felt around this area here, because this is still quite bendy and floppy. So I'm just going to start felting up in towards the body. So my cat at the moment has got a bit of fat butt. It's fine, you can just start stabbing in at an angle just at the sides, unless you want your cat to have a big fat butt. Now I'm going to work the tail, which is going to be slightly different to how we've done the legs. As on the tail, the majority of it is going to be raisin, and we're just going to have a tiny bit of the fawn at the bottom. So I'm going to take some of the raisin, just a tuft, so it's really only a few centimetres. Give it a rough stab all over. And now I'm going to start rolling it against the fibres. And give it a good stab all over. We don't want any fluffy ends this time. I'm going to give it a roll in my hands. That's probably a bit long, so I'm just going to rip a bit of it off. Stab that in. I'm actually going to use my multi-tool. So you just want to really work this nice and quick. If you have got to the point where it's a bit too long and it's felted too much, just start felting at an angle, so you're pushing the fibres along and in towards the centre. Then you can flip it over, and that will just help shorten up all the fibres, make the tail a bit shorter. Smooth those fibres out. In a moment, you're going to have to decide which end is the top of your tail. Obviously, if you were doing a single coloured cat, I would recommend just doing the tail using the same method as we did for the legs. So I'm quite happy with that sort of size. But we need to put a little bit of fawn just at the base. So I'm just going to take a pinchy bit, restack it in my hands, and then lay the tail in there. So this is where our fluffy ends are going to be. And start stabbing that onto the base of the tail. Smooth those fibres out. Twiddle the end in again. And then, just like with the legs, I'm just going to open that up. I've got a bit of a solid bit of tail there, that's absolutely fine. I think what I'll do is that solid bit of tail I will put over the back. So that's the bit that's going to be against the picture frame. Stab that bit on a bit. Turn it over. And stab that bit on a bit. There we go. So now just to add the finishing touches, I'm going to take a little bit of candy floss, pinch, tiny fluffy bit, roll it up in my hands. That's probably going to be a bit too big. Oh no, perfect. Pop that on. Just holding it on whilst I'm stabbing it in. There we go. There we go, I'm quite happy with that. So what I'll go do now is I will stick this on. I like to pop it so that the feet are kind of standing on the bottom of the picture frame. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this slightly bizarre needle felting tutorial. Have an excellent day. Look after yourselves. Stay away from other humans. Happy crafting. Bye. And then start stabbing. Ow!